This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morrison. This week we are celebrating a sensational weekend for the lacrosse, softball, and baseball programs. 4 Bates student-athletes earned NESCAC honors last week, and the Bates Student Athlete Advisory Committee hosted its first annual faculty-student basketball game. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The number 22 nationally ranked Bates women's lacrosse team sports an overall record of 8-4 and a conference mark of 4-3 after the Bobcats defeated Connecticut College at Garcelon Field on Saturday by a score of 11-10. Bates got the bounce-back win after suffering a midweek loss to Bowdoin. Senior captain goalkeeper Eliza Statile made 14 saves against the Camels, including one with less than 30 seconds remaining, which clinched the victory. After the game, she joined the Bobcast.
So number 9 had been playing well all game. I knew she was going to be one of the shooters, or number 21. So I just knew she was going low, and I kind of forget the rest. So
when the shot actually, it's going low, so you just react?
Yeah, I tried to drop my body there and hold on to it. I have 10 seconds in the crease, and there was only about 12 seconds left. So it was just hold on for dear life, make it to the end, and win on senior day. So.
There was a timeout call right before. What was the discussion over there?
Brett and Lauren were super confident in us. We knew what they'd been doing all game. Just decided that we had to lock it down, and they had full faith, play our game, and win it.
Senior day, extra special victory?
Extra special, definitely.
What was it like before the game?
It was a lot of emotions. There's a ton of people here. It's great to see alumni in the stands, the signs, and it's sometimes challenging just to think about the game when everything's going on, but it's nice to have that extra support all around you, literally on this field at Garcelon.
What does it say about the team you're able to bounce back, after the tough loss to Bowdoin?
Yeah, we've been really resilient, and we had a couple tough losses against Babson and Wesleyan early on in the year. It's nice to pull off a win when it's that close and we know we can play better. So we're really resilient, and we're excited going to these next couple of games after break when we're rested.
Yeah, you got, 10 days before your next game? What do you think the focus is going to be?
The focus is going to be on us, figuring out the details and things that we need to work on to win some close games against some of the top teams in the NESCAC. So.
I saw after the game, right after a big embrace with JoJo, your fellow captain. What was that moment like?
Yes, that was really special. We pulled it off, we made it, now it's time to celebrate.
The number 12 nationally ranked Bates men's lacrosse team sports an overall record of 9-2 and a conference mark of 6-1. First in the NESCAC. The Bobcats defeated Bowdoin 14-12 in Brunswick Wednesday and followed that up with a 15-10 win at Connecticut College on Saturday. Junior captain Matt Chlastawa, the all-time assists leader in Bates men's lacrosse history, scored 4 goals and dished out 3 assists against the Polar Bears. Then he tallied 2 goals and a season-high 6 assists against the Camels on Saturday. For his efforts, Chlastawa was named NESCAC Men's Lacrosse Player of the Week.
Matt, Connecticut College, this is a team that they play pretty slow. I know the pace can be challenging, so what was the game like there on Saturday?
They came out defensively and they threw a zone at us. They have a couple of really good guys on offense that we tried to focus up on. So offensively, it was a lot of it was trying to get our offense early in transition, and if they get in on defense, to be patient and work the ball around and see what the zone that they're throwing at us gives us. So
the team, obviously, there's been some injuries. Some guys are banged up a little bit, but so you've probably been seeing some new faces to work with on offense a little bit. What's that been like?
Yeah, every single year we kind of have the injured reserve where a couple of guys are banged up, and this year is no different. Because we're so deep and we have so many guys on the team, we do have this next man up mentality where everybody who comes out to practice, everyone who comes out to play is typically ready to go. So it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit of time for everyone to get used to the new lineup and stuff like that. But for the most part, we try not to lose a step whenever a new person is on the field.
You're racking up the assists. How do you build chemistry with the other attackers in practice to, develop plays where you're behind that net and you're distributing like that?
Well, a lot of it has to do with confidence in me. So, I can't really be an active feeder if no one else is really cutting off ball and stuff like that. So we kind of have this understanding, especially with like me and Malali and like other attackmen and other midfielders like me and Curtis, where if they get open, then they're confident that I can actually hit them with a pass, and I just try my best to keep my head up, and if they get open, to try to give them as good of a ball as I possibly can.
Excellent. And then, obviously people know you also because you can score obviously a lot, and teams I'm sure game plan you differently depending on the week. And so how do you approach that when you're in the game, realizing what they're doing out there?
Well, a lot of it is kind of like audible. So we do have a game plan, a set game plan on the scout and stuff like that, and stuff that we prepare for. However, on the field, when it comes to recognizing the moment and recognizing what's going on, we like to play fast. So as a result, we kind of try to push that transition, and a lot of that is kind of playing a chaotic type of lacrosse, but that's the way we like it, and that's the way that we practice it. So when it comes to game day, it's nothing that we haven't really seen before.
So we're talking on Tuesday, so a week from today, you're going to be at Tufts. They had their first loss the other day, but obviously a great rivalry. You've played in the last 2 years. What's this game like?
There's not much that's like it, honestly. When it comes to Bates Tufts, it's a beautiful rivalry in that it's going to be a heavy hitting game. That it's going to be up and down. We're going to have our runs. They're going to have theirs. So when it all around, it's just going to be exciting. I mean, they have it out for us. We scrimmaged them earlier on in the fall, so we got an opportunity to run at them a little bit before, but. It's the vibe at Bellow Field and in Boston. There's like a lot of Bates alumni that come out because they all live around there and stuff like that. So it's just exciting. I'm excited to get out there.
Yeah, that game 2 years ago was very memorable, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. 2 years ago, like it felt like a home game because of how many Bates alum came out and how many people made the trip down. So going down to Massachusetts, my home state, it's just a great feeling to get out there and play our hardest.
Now you're one of the captains as a junior. The first years, do they know what's waiting for them with Tufts? I mean, have you talked to them much about this rivalry and what it means?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talk about how like every game in the NESCAC should not be taken for granted, and they already know, like as freshmen, like the heavy hitters of the NESCAC being Tufts, Amerson's, stuff like that. So coming into this tough part of our schedule, I think they're more than prepared. I mean, obviously coming off of finals and stuff and all that, that's a lot to deal with. But in terms of Tufts, I think they should be ready to go.
You mentioned the tough part of the schedule, but also an opportunity, right? It's a chance to finish first.
Definitely, it's a chance to establish ourselves as one of the most prominent NESCAC teams this year. Obviously, we're trying to. And we've talked about it, Curtis, Bull, and Rocco and I, about our desire to host NESCAC because we did it 2 years ago and we fell short. But we know that there's nothing better than hosting a game on Garcelon for NESCAC playoffs. So.
What's it like to be the all-time assist leader at Bates as a junior?
It's nice. I just informed me of this,
right.
This is news to me. However, it's nice to know that when I am able to get my hands free and get a pass off to a teammate, that they will finish the back end of it, and that just goes to a testament to my teammates as well as it's to just the team offense as a whole.
For sure. And then mentioning about the previous week, that also included Bowdoin. It seems like forever ago, right? But that's always a tough game on the road, but you guys pulled it out. What was that game like?
Yeah, I mean, CBB, man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Yeah, it's always a gritty game whenever we play Bowdoin. Like they beat us last year within like a second on our home field, so we kind of had that chip on our shoulders. And then 2 years ago, we beat them in the last couple seconds. So playing close games with Bowdoin is something that we're not. I mean, it's something that we're used to. Yeah. It's always a rivalry game to where no matter if we're having a good year or we're having an off year or they're having an off year or they're having a good year, no matter what, whenever we match up one-on-one, it's going to be a grudge match. So we were fully prepared for that, and we were just happy to come up on top.
Yeah, as a guy who's on the attack, how happy are you to see that pass they tried at the very end just go over the guy's head and out of bounds? You're like, yes, there it is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were confident in our defense to get a stop, and you hate to say it, but definitely like wishing on the other end that they would just mess up.
Right.
So like having an error like that decide the game essentially was kind of reassuring, definitely, to have the ball on the offensive end for that latter part of the game, to feel more comfortable, just to be able to be like, I'm just gonna run and try not to get stripped and just try to run the clock out.
You touched on finals week leading up to the Tufts game, and they have a game, though, right before, I believe, against Amherst. So what's that dynamic like with Bates not having a game for a while, whereas Tufts just coming off what I'm sure will be a very tough game with the Mammoth?
Well, we try to just focus on ourselves, because we're going to have so much time to prepare and watch film on them, and we're probably going to end up watching that Amherst game.
Right.
It's good for them, definitely, because they get to compete against a high-level opponent. However, for us, it's more about, especially when we get to the game itself, there's a lot of hype going on. It's Tufts, it's on their home field and all that. The quicker that we can focus on ourselves and what we have to do as a team and individually in order to compete at our highest level is kind of where the focus needs to be at for us in order to win that game.
All right, Matt Chlastawa, NESCAC Men's Lacrosse Player of the Week. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Chlastawa was one of 4 Bobcats who earned NESCAC honors for their performances last week. Junior Kirsten Pelletier was named the NESCAC Softball Pitcher of the Week after she earned the save against St. Joseph's with 3 shutout innings and pitched 3 complete games over the weekend against Colby, leading the Bobcats to a 3-game sweep of the Mules. Pelletier was brilliant, allowing just 1 hit in Game 1 of Saturday's doubleheader and just 2 hits in Game 2. Pelletier sports a 1.80 ERA through 16 appearances this season, and she is our female Bobcat of the Week.
Kirsten, first of all, you pitched all 3 games against Colby, and you got a save early in the week against St. Joseph, so a busy week for you. How do you approach it? Did you know going in you were going to start all 3 games?
No, I didn't. I knew I'd start the Friday game, and I wasn't sure which game I would pitch on Saturday. But I think just going into it with always wanting the ball and knowing that my best stuff is going to be anyone else's best stuff every single day when I step on the mound, I think is how I really prepare myself, especially going into NESCAC games.
Seems like you do pretty well against Colby. Threw a no-hitter against them last year and a 1-hitter and then a 2-hitter on Saturday there in the doubleheader. What was clicking for you?
We threw a lot of fastballs and curveballs early in the game, and we really saved my other movement pitches and my changeup for later in the game, and I think that was really effective to keep hitters off balance, and I really didn't show all my stuff. So I think that was really effective.
So they couldn't make adjustments going through the second time and stuff,
right? Right.
And then for the team itself, obviously after a tough opening weekend series against Tufts, what was it like to get a sweep on the other side of the coin?
It was really excited. I think all the first years, which we have 6 first years starting, I think it means a lot to them, and to get NESCAC wins under our belt, let alone a NESCAC sweep under our belt. I think that does wonders for our team vibe and how we're going to approach the series we have remaining.
For sure. And then speaking of the first years, Janelle, I saw she had her first career home run. How cool was that to see?
That was great. I was so happy for her. She deserves it. She's so awesome. She's such a great teammate too. So.
What are the first years like? Obviously, as you mentioned, there's a lot of them. What's the dynamic like getting them integrated into the team and everything?
It's been fun. I think a lot of new talent and a lot of new voices. It's been exciting to see them kind of come out of their shell. I think in Florida they were a little nervous, and as we've played more games, they've really come into who they are as players and as teammates and as people. And it's been so great to just help them through that and to watch them do it. It's been so fun.
As a pitcher, it must be nice to see the offense, come alive, especially there against St. Joseph's and then Colby on Friday also.
Yes, absolutely. Love the run cushion.
For sure. And then you've got a series, I believe, this weekend. It's not in your division, right? But you're battling a really good Williams team, and that's going to be a nice test, isn't it?
Yes, Williams is a really good team. They have been good. So I think going into Williams, it'll be a really good test to see if our offense will stay producing like we did this weekend, and I think we'll rise to the challenge.
And then as a pitcher, I know sometimes they've been DPing for you, so you don't have to worry about hitting. Do you like that? Do you want to get up to the plate a little bit more?
I mean, our offense is working right now, so whatever produces runs, that's what I'm for. I always give Coach a little nudge. I want to hit too, but I definitely understand my role as a pitcher, and if things are working, and that's what I like to see and be a part of. So.
Yeah, and this is finals week, I believe, right? So what do you got on your docket?
Yeah, finals week. I actually don't have a busy week. I have a lot of group projects and one sit-down exam, so nothing too bad, which is nice when you're in season.
And then you've gotten, you've played Tufts, you've played Colby, and obviously you've got Bowdoin and Trinity left. What do you remember about those teams from last year, and what are you most looking forward to as the season goes on here?
Coming off the Bowdoin series last year, I'm excited to play them again. We definitely had a tough series against them last year, and I'm excited to go in and really assert Bates softball against Bowdoin. Bowdoin is going down this year.
Excellent. That's a good way to wrap it up. I think Kirsten Pelletier, NESCAC Pitcher of the Week, and our female Bobcat of the Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
First-year Antonio Jareno is the NESCAC Baseball Player of the Week. He was the offensive hero of Bates' 5-2 victory over Trinity on Saturday, hitting a solo home run in the 4th inning and doubling home the go-ahead run in the 8th inning. Then he scored the winning run in Game 1 of Sunday's doubleheader as Bates took 2 of 3 from the Bantams. Starting 1 game at shortstop and 4 at second base, Jareno had multiple hits in all 5 games of a 3-2 week for Bates, hitting .478 with 3 doubles, 1 home run, 1 stolen base, 3 runs scored, a slugging percentage of .739, and 5 RBIs. And Antonio Jareno is our male Bobcat of the Week.
First of all, Antonio, you're from Marietta, Georgia. How did you decide to come to Bates to study and to play baseball?
Well, my summer baseball coach knew Coach Martin, and that's how I got in contact with Coach Martin at first. And he was able to see me at a showcase down in Florida called Head First, and he was interested, and so was I. Good academic school, good baseball, so I came up here.
Did you visit at all during high school or anything like that?
I actually did not visit. Before I committed. I came up here in the spring, but I knew it was the right fit for me. I talked to Coach Martin over the phone, and he was just an awesome guy. I knew I was going to love it here.
What did you know about NESCAC baseball, if anything, I guess?
Absolutely the academics, NESCAC is obviously known for high academics, and I knew that baseball would get me somewhere where academics would be a top priority.
Before last week, you had 4 at-bats the whole year. So what was it like to get that much playing time? And, how cool was it to see yourself, produce like you did?
Well, Coach Martin, he gives a lot of opportunities to the guys, and I was just able to go out there. The game against Husson, give us a start since our middle infielders were sick, and I was able to prove myself with the opportunities he gave me.
So the Husson game really set the tone for the week, sort of for you at least?
I believe so.
Yeah. And then, NESCAC opponents, what's that been like? Maybe adjustments you've made compared to what you were facing in high school?
Well, they can throw everything for a strike. They're fastball and breaking ball, and I think that's the biggest change between this and high school baseball. You just got to jump on it quick, be able to make adjustments up at the plate, just be a good hitter,
And then you also can pitch, right? What's the approach there in terms of possibly also being a two-way player for the Bobcats either this year or down the road?
Well, any way I can help the team to win, I'm all for it.
How do you balance that also in terms of your practice approach?
Well, it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
trying to balance both. It's a grind, but it always is.
You had 2 home runs in all your high school career, and you hit one the other day. Was that comes kind of a surprise to you, or have you been working on your power?
That was an absolute surprise. I didn't know it was going off the bat. I've never been the home run type. I've always been line drive, gap to gap, and I just got lucky and got a hold of one and kept going.
The doubleheader there, it was an extra inning game. When White's fly ball goes in the air, you're tagging up at third. What are you seeing there?
I'm going to the plate, no matter what. He hit it deep enough for me to score, and I was just ready for that opportunity, getting on second base, very first at-bat, and then Jack pushing me to third base.
Well, double steal.
The steal.
What did you see on the double steal? I'm curious because you guys got great jumps on that.
We had the hit and run on that, and the team was shifted for the bunt, and there was no one covering third, so I was able to get there before the shortstop did.
And then, had you ever scored a walk-off run before like that?
Not like that one.
Never? Yeah.
No, that was great.
Wesleyan this weekend at home. Obviously, it doesn't count in the divisional race, but it's still important to see what guys can do. I'm sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're a good team, and hopefully a team that we'll face in the NESCAC playoffs. Never know.
Right. Because you've got Bowdoin and Colby remaining in terms of divisional games. Have you talked much to guys about? Have they spoken to you about the CBB rivalry kind of between these three schools, or is this totally new to you?
Totally new.
Yeah.
But they're going to be good games. We just got to take advantage and put our hearts out there and win the game.
Sounds good. Antonio Jareno, he is the NESCAC Baseball Player of the Week, and he's our Male Bobcat of the Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The track and field teams began their outdoor season Saturday at the MIT Quad Meet, competing against the Engineers, RPI, and Tufts. The Bates women won 4 events, with senior captain Aiden Eichhoff winning the 1,500-meter run, senior Katie Barker winning the 5,000-meter run, sophomore Amanda Kaufman winning the 100-meter hurdles with a personal best time of 14.83 seconds, and senior captain Katie Hughes winning the shot put. On the men's side, sophomore Elijah Coyne won the 400-meter hurdles, and sophomore John Rex won the hammer throw. Rex also finished 6th in the shot put, and he is the NESCAC Men's Field Athlete of the Week.
John, last time we chatted was before NCAAs. You qualified as a sophomore. You're the only sophomore in the field there in the weight throw. What was that experience like for you going there, for the first time?
It was a very exciting experience to go to NCAAs for the first time. Definitely very hectic. There's a lot of teams there, a lot of people. It was nice to get experience in that sort of in that type of environment for sure. And it was good to see that level of competition because I hadn't really seen. I hadn't been in a field where everyone was either like at my level or better than me for the rest of for the entire regular season. So that was definitely a good experience to have. It didn't really go how I wanted it to. I didn't end the season on a PR, but regardless, it was a really good experience, and I was very thankful to even have made it there. And it's a sort of experience where you go and you're really excited to go, and then by the time you leave and you don't do what you wanted to accomplish there, you're just even hungrier for more. So I'm definitely going to take that experience with me and let it light a fire under me as I go into outdoor season.
What were your talks with Coach Fresh like? Maybe afterwards, reflecting on it and what you might adjustments you might make when you go back next year, hopefully.
Well, being the only sophomore in the field, I don't think that there was a lot of expectation for me to place high in the meet. It was more of a meet. It was more of a trip to nationals for the experience, and I think the first time you get there, it's usually rare that you're going to have a banner performance, and you need to gain that experience to eventually be able to perform well at those types of meets and those types of environments. So I think in that regard, Fresh sort of knew that going into the meet, and I sort of knew that going into the meet, although I still wanted to do really well for myself, which is why that wasn't my happiest moment in track and field. But like I said again, I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to channel it into outdoors, and I'm going to come back hungrier than ever.
For sure. So speaking of outdoors, this past weekend, pretty strong showing for you in the hammer throw. Now the hammer throw and the weight throw, very similar, obviously. What are some maybe differences between the two?
Right. So at indoor nationals, I saw a lot of really strong guys in my field.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows me knows that I enjoy lifting as well. I consider myself pretty strong, but when you get to nationals and you're in that field of weight throwers, everyone's just as strong or stronger. Yeah. And a difference between the weight throw and the hammer throw, as Coach always says, the hammer throw is really revealing because there could be good weight throwers who don't have great footwork because it's less important in the weight throw because of the radius. The radius of the ball is shorter. It's also heavier. So there's less time for acceleration, and it's less of a patience thing, more of just like speed and push and acceleration. And you have to, a lot of times, a lot of big, strong athletes who are usually heavier or better at the weight than they are at the hammer, because it's such a heavy ball. They have that center of gravity, and the ball doesn't throw them around as much as it would a smaller, faster guy. So for the smaller, faster guys throwing the weight, you have to be a lot more technical to your approach to throwing it, which is why we see in hammer season a lot of the faster, leaner guys sort of be in the top 20 as opposed to some of the guys who got All-American in the weight don't even throw the hammer over 50 meters. It's an event that was created by Americans, the weight throw, to sort of mimic the hammer throw, but for indoors. But there are some fundamental differences in the events that cater to different types of athletes.
Which do you prefer?
I'm definitely more of a hammer thrower, although I'd say I'm sort of a hybrid because I do have strength, and I only look to improve upon my strength. So I think next year the weight will be even better than it was this year. That just comes with getting stronger and more explosive, being able to counter that 35-pound weight is definitely huge, and you definitely need a lot of strength to do that. I think my freshman year I didn't see a lot of success until hammer season, and that was sort of my first taste of success was throwing the hammer freshman year. And I think that the weight throw does a really good job of prepping me for that, because I throw the same exact number of with the same exact number of turns that I do for the weight throw as I do for the hammer throw. And I think I am more of a speed surgical kind of thrower, less just grip and rip, more just technique and speed and explosiveness. So I think in that regard, hammer is comparably better than weight throw. But they're both, I'd say indoors the weight throw is still my strength, and outdoors the hammer throw is my strength.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of that, there's two other events in outdoors. Shot put, nothing much changes except for the conditions, I suppose, right?
Right. Yeah. It was definitely, we haven't had a ton of practice time dedicated to shot put. So I think that'll just come with more meets and more experience under my belt, and my first time really throwing shot outside. So it was a little bit different, but I think in a meet you just can't let those things affect you, and I think sometimes they do, the external factors. But when it comes down to it, you are just throwing the same ball that you've been throwing since the fall. Yeah. So.
Well, speaking of practices, you got 3 different events. The discus is the other one. So when you're practice during the week, what's your approach to that? How to balance those 3 kind of?
So I think that primarily I'm a hammer thrower, and I think that lately I've been being a little too. I know the technique behind the discus and the shot put, but I think lately I've just been thinking about that too much, and I think something that's important in throwing is to not think. I think those who think less are usually better off when they enter the circle, because you shouldn't be thinking about anything when you're in that moment. And there's this quote that I can't remember who says it, but it says if you don't think too good, then don't think at all. And I think that really applies to the throws, because if you're thinking in a meet thinking about all the things that you could do wrong, all the things that you could potentially do to mess up your throw, then you're not going to throw well. You just have to believe that you can throw far, and believe that you have prepared yourself for this moment, and this is what you've been doing for years now, and you do these sorts of things every single day at practice, and it shouldn't change in a meet. The only thing that should change is the intensity level. And I think overall in the shot and discus, I should just use my athleticism to get some marks out there, because ultimately at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how the throw looks, it's just about how far it goes.
Right. And you mentioned off the air, even though you were NESCAC Field Performer of the Week, you're not really satisfied with this past meet. That's probably a good thing, right? You a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, I've hit some practice PRs that were a lot farther than my hammer throw this past weekend, but again, like sort of like the first meet jitters can alter that performance. And I think the shot and disc, I can definitely see a lot of improvement there. I wasn't very thrilled with my performance in the shot and disc at all. The hammer I thought was a good start. Mm-hmm. But I know that there's a lot more there in the shot and disc, and I think that just based off of the work I've put in, I could be throwing a lot farther, and I think I will. So.
Last question for you. This weekend had University of New Hampshire, right? What can you tell us about this meet coming up?
Definitely a lot more competition in the shot and disc. They have some really good throwers. They have one really good shot put thrower. They have decent hammer thrower, throws around the same where I'm throwing, but I'm looking to improve my mark a lot more, so hopefully I'll surpass him and win the meet. And it'd be nice to place in shot put as well and get a nice personal best in there. And discus, I think I can only go up from where I was in the first meet.
All right, John Rex, NESCAC Field Performer of the Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
On Monday, the Bates Student Athlete Advisory Committee hosted its first annual faculty-student basketball game. Bates College President Clayton Spencer participated, and it was a nice turnout at Alumni Gym for the inaugural event. Afterward, we caught up with Bates women's basketball head coach Alison Montgomery, who helped organize and officiate the game.
First annual faculty-student basketball game here at Alumni Gym. Alison Montgomery with us. Tell us how this all developed.
Yeah, so our Student Athletic Advisory Committee, the SAAC group, has been working on this sort of initiative in general to just continue to strengthen relationships with faculty. And this initiative specifically, Mike Roque from our sociology department, who is our faculty liaison for the football team and is also recently our NCAA rep for all of athletics, who's just really kind of invested in the mission, brought this idea to us actually and said, I think we can do this. I think I can, get some faculty behind it, and we're hoping that we can do some similar sort of events around softball or to really just get faculty and students together on the playing fields.
You were one of the officials, so how'd that go?
Always interesting to be on the other side.
Right.
Officiating's not easy, but yeah, really fun. Obviously, I think there was one, maybe two fouls called in that game, so very loosely officiated, but it was really fun to just kind of help facilitate the flow of it. Yeah.
Cool to see Dean Reese hit a three there, right?
A deep three.
Yeah.
A contested deep three with lots of confidence in rhythm. Yeah, and there was a lot of faculty members and staff members kind of showing off their athletic ability, which was great.
Any other moments stand out to you, sort of?
Certainly, I would say Dean Reese's three. Yeah. I think it was another thing that was sort of funny as the game started. Right. The students were really hesitant to actually score and attempt to score it, but then it was kind of cool to see as the game went on that they were sort of all equal partners and trying to win, so that was cool.
And then hopes for the future and how that might grow, I guess?
Yeah. I think our vision, and I know the way these sort of events run often, is student versus faculty, right, which we think that could be really fun as well. I think we didn't really know what we'd get for a turnout, and we didn't really know ability level and that sort of thing, so we just kind of wanted to make it a really fun event that way. So now that we have a sense, and hopefully it was really fun for everybody and they'll want to come back in the future, but we would like to at some point do students versus faculty.
Okay,
yeah,
excellent.
Yeah.
White team wins 62-52 over the Garnet team. Alison Montgomery, thanks so much.
Thanks, Aaron.
The men's tennis team defeated Colby 8-1 on Thursday to improve to 2-0 in conference action so far this season. The Bobcat schedule really heats up next week when Bates takes on 3 NESCAC opponents in the span of 4 days. And while the women's tennis team fell at Tufts on Saturday at Merrill Gym, the Bobcats will get a chance to improve their conference mark of 1-1 next week with 3 matches in 4 days as well. The rowing teams continue to test themselves against elite competition. The number 1 nationally ranked women's rowing team challenged the BU lightweights and the Radcliffe lightweights over the weekend. While BU outraced the Bobcats, Bates won 2 of 3 races against Radcliffe the very next day. On the men's side, Bates took on Marist, WPI, Hamilton, and Connecticut College, with the Bobcats outracing their NESCAC foes each time, while trailing Marist. Finals week means fewer sporting events on the docket, but tune in next week when we recap some interesting crossover NESCAC games for the baseball and softball teams. The baseball team hosts Wesleyan in a Saturday doubleheader that gets underway at noon, and the softball team visits Williams for a Sunday doubleheader. Track and field and rowing are both in action this weekend as well, and the women's tennis team visits Wheaton College on Sunday. We'll recap it all next time on the Bates Bobcast.